So if you see here, the waterfall projects, right, are around 14% successful. Okay. What's the success criteria here? Whatever the client has given, the list of all the requirements, okay, you're able to do all the requirements you are asked by your client within time and within stipulated budget, under budgeted cost. Okay, that's the success criteria for waterfall projects. But if you see in terms of the agile, they're around 42%. Okay, and this is the report actually given by one of the IT research companies called Standish. They were doing a lot of this research for last 6-7 years, okay, but they never published any report. They were just looking at agile projects across the world. They were studying what is the actual reason behind success. This they reported only in 2012, this particular factor. If you see here, in terms of 14 and 42%, 3 times agile projects are more successful than waterfall. Okay. Now the second aspect that we need to see here is challenged. 57% we are saying under waterfall challenge and 49%. You know what, in agile, even if you start a project, if you cancel the project after 2 sprints, or if you are able to meet only 60% of the requirements, even they could be classified as successful. Reason, first one, if you are able to cancel your project only 2 sprints because the product is not a good idea. You showed to your customer, they didn't like it. Okay, so you're preserving your money. Okay. Second, most of the clients, it's been when they said they did the the survey, they saw most of the cases. The client said after 60% of the requirements done, they said stop. We got all the business value which we wanted. We don't need to run for next part of the project. Okay. So you see the lot of clients when you engage in, it's a highly collaborative environment, right? You engage the client from the start. So most of these 49% which was actually validated from the waterfall in agile, this is also considered as success. Able to do only 60% of your product and client says, I got all the business value which I anticipated for. That's a success, right? You're saving so much cost and you're getting all the business value. So if you see, if I combine, it's around 91% of our projects, agile projects are successful, which is nearly 8 times of what waterfall has been. Okay, so is it easy, guys, to follow agile? Not at all. You can't bring a transformation within your company in few weeks, few months. It requires years, really. 2 to 3 years is the typical, depends on the size of the company too. So so we are going to address 3 questions today. Why agile is a kind of a natural fit for mobile development. Second, we would be addressing some of the how to really execute large projects in agile fashion. So there are, you could say, there are multiple good practices that you could follow, but I'm going to focus on a few 10 of them. And the last is what's the role of an agile CXO, okay, in an organization. So these are the 3 questions we'll try to address today. So sprint is just for you to just everyone on a very 10,000 feet level definition is it's either 2 to 4 weeks, don't extend beyond that. And within 2 to 4 weeks, you start from your requirements, your design, implementation, testing, and something working to your end customer. You show to the demo to the end customer, get their feedback. So the idea is bring your user as central of your product development. Don't keep them outside of your product development. Okay. When you bring them at the center of the product development, that's only you will actually get the right feedback and you are able to deliver a product which will be heavily used by your end users. Okay. So that's the main focus. So in case of the other thing is in case of sprints is when you're doing in mobile also, right? I will give an example. We were building one of the companies which I was involved. They were building what is called as a location-based advertising application. So that particular application was focused on a specific geography where the mobile density was around 200%. Okay, more or less like every person carried 2 cell phones. Okay, so one of the investors, he was the venture capitalist in that product. So he was a French investor. So what he did was actually he went to the different customer base, the target market. He actually pulled in around 15 to 20 actual customers. Okay, before the project started, before the product actually started. So he got around 15 to 20 of those people into the product development life cycle. Even before we got into any kind of conceptualization getting through it. Okay. So then what we did was every sprint when we used to deliver something, they were part of our sprint demo, all these 20 people. Okay. And initially what we did was the idea was to build it on first on BlackBerry and then on iPhone. Because that's some two prominent models which were used there. It was 2 years back. So what we did was even some of the aspects that everybody were not clear with respect to what exactly the app should look like. So we built it on BlackBerry for around 6-7 sprints. When the things were in a good shape, then we actually pulled in iPhone and rest of the team to build on the rest of the product. Okay. And second, the sprint model really helped to really give a very good shape to the actual product in terms of how it should be used, when the users are going to use it. So that's one of the big advantage of using sprint model in case of Agile. And third, what we did was during the demo, you typically use is download, install, and start using the app, right? In the demo, what we did was we actually delivered a product, put it on one of the servers. These customers, they downloaded the app, installed the app, and started using it, and then start sharing the feedback as part of the sprint demo. So the team got used to this cycle from the start. End of the sprint, we'll deliver something, the users will going to use it and share the feedback. So that became a habit to the team because they started doing it from the early stages of the project. And second thing which we definitely is, mobile is a lot different from non-mobile world, right? Mobile apps are less tolerant to crashes and errors. Even I got 6-year-old daughter, right? She's in that princess era now. Like everything she wants is princess, pink and princess. So when she picks up my Android phone and she downloads a lot of these princess games and starts playing, as soon as she sees after a couple of things that something is crashing, it's not this princess game, hundreds of people have probably created, right? So she says this doesn't work. She uninstalls and start trying. So people have very less tolerant in case of mobile with respect to crashes and errors. Okay, how could you really bring it down? By testing more. The idea about Agile is if you think doing something is important, do it more often. You think testing is important, do it more often. Do you think integration is important, integrating? Then do it more often, continuous integration. Do you think showing to the customer is important? Show it more often. Okay, that's the thing. You do something more often, team gets used to, and you get better at it. It's the same model of sprint. You do more often, you get better at it. Okay, so we definitely, you have got multiple levels of testing. You do at the unit level, you do at the integration level, you build a lot of GUI. Try to be in this level in terms of when you're actually introducing the automation concept into your organization. And you end up with manual testing, exploratory testing, UI testing, a lot of these testing that you do. So this actually helps in building a very good mobile app, which makes sure that there's a high reliability and it continues, it's been used by your end users. I think Hitesh, you talked about the user experience, right? I think mobile, I find you are playing with a lot of constraints, okay? Constraints of size, constraint of space, okay? And it can't take more than a couple of minutes to really download. So you need to keep it small, and you have to show whatever that you want to really give it to the customer within that stipulated space. You have got a very small real estate to really play around. So can you really get this at the first go? Can you really get all these things within this constraint, the right product at the first go? Impossible. You have to experiment. You have to adjust the design. You need to adjust all along the way in terms of the features, how it should be used. Okay. So you need a kind of an experimentation model, which is the Agile sprint model. Every sprint you experiment and try to incorporate this one. Second, as the name says, user experience. User experience cannot be ever put it on a piece of paper very well. It needs to be experienced by the user, then only he's going to give you a kind of a feedback. Okay. We were building a kind of a facility management iPad app. It was mainly used by It was being used by all these plumbers, electricians, carpenters, and those kind of people. So when we are building, we never knew whether they would be at the conditions under which they are working, whether the tap functionality would work, a tap and hold, or the swipe functionality, device specific actions, which one would work best for you. They cannot express them on a piece of paper because they never used an iPad. You need to show to them, you get the feedback, and then incorporate it. Okay, so that's one important in terms of really coming out with a very good user experience. You need to involve customer much early, okay, and ask them to play around. I think I like the idea about putting a kind of a fast prototype, show to the client, and they start experimenting. You also showed an example also, right? You can start using it also just to get a kind of a feeling. This is an important, this once again was published by Standish, okay, which is an IT research company. You see here is the number of features that you develop. Only 20% of the features that you develop are actually used by your end customer. Rest, 70 to 80 is a waste of a lean principle, right? Reducing the waste, adding value at every step that you do. So 80% of the features that you are producing are not used. First of all, one is that you are putting a lot of waste into your product. Second, it's an opportunity lost. You could have spent the same effort on this 20% to make it much better. Much better probably in terms of functional and non-functional both. Maybe increasing on the performance, making it less error-free, better UI experience. You could have done a lot better. Okay. So there is a principle in Agile called simplicity. Try to keep the things simple. And for me, what I feel is in mobile, you ought to be simple. You don't have too much space to experiment. You don't want to create so much waste in mobile because then it's going to increase your size, download time, the user experience becomes very tough because you're flooded with too many things to do, too many options to do. So it's also said the simplicity principle is about you have got 100 things to do in a product backlog or requirements. Start saying no. Okay, start saying no to as many as possible. Only say yes to the real essence of the product. Real essence of the product. Okay, this is exactly what Steve Jobs used to thought, and there are a lot of companies, product companies, who really follow this simplicity principle to the extent. It is there in every practice of Agile. If you are following extreme programming, things like test-driven development, writing just enough code, or decluttering the workspaces of Agile. You see Agile workspaces design is coming up very well, decluttering the product. So decluttering product is called reducing the features. So how can you do this? By actually getting customer involved. Okay, the idea is minimize this, maximize the blue bar. Make it more effective, the blue bar. Okay, so all these things can be, and I see it it's not only in the web world, it's non-web world, and in mobile world, I think you have very less space. You better to be as simple as possible to really create a kind of a excellent product. Yeah, just to summarize, definitely we need to have mobile should have a very small footprint, error-free, seamless interaction, and all this can only be done by sprints, quality assurance, enhanced quality assurance, multiple cycles of testing, and frequent customer involvement, all along the way of the product development. We will address some of the common challenges. Definitely there are a lot of other good things that we could do. One of the key things, people say, you know what, it's very easy to do it in 6-member team, 10 people team, or probably smaller organization of 20 people, 30, 40 people. Okay. People say, how could we do it in a very large organization? Why it is so tough? The idea is a lot of people miss the point. The challenge in the secret behind executing large projects is breaking them into small pieces and make each individual pieces agile enough, and then put a proper communication and overarching, we'll talk about a few things, put a channel in place so that they all start acting. So you don't feel like you're actually operating a large team. You feel as if you're operating a small teams, but a lot of small teams. Okay, so that's the main key thing. So you can't really have a very big, you know what we were doing for one of the Belgium telecom company. It was outsourced to Infosys Pune. They had a 200 people team. And the Belgium company telecom said, no, we want you to follow Agile. They were just trying their best in terms of 200 people. How can they make in 200 people team as work as one team and work on this? And it came to the earlier organization. Our organization was very small, so they knew even if I give you the project, you can't execute because you don't have so many people. Okay, so then what we did was we actually traveled to Belgium and Infosys Pune, and we actually broken the teams into multiple small pieces, so that they all started working in a Scrum, started using Scrum. So key, the three things that you need to have a complete hold is the people. When I say people, in terms of definitely, I think people will believe there is a lot of emphasis on honesty, openness, commitment, okay, respect of the team, and process. You need to definitely have process, which things like you could follow a Scrum or a Kanban and extreme programming specific, and then tools with respect not only the engineering tools, even the tools for collaboration, tools for communication. Okay, so using all these you need to balance all these aspects. That's the way where you would actually enter into an enterprise agile team. Any team which you could call as an enterprise team is the one which can adapt to the changes, which can scale faster, okay, without losing the principles. And there is large agile team foundation is seamless and honest communication, period. There's nothing can replace this. This is the main foundation on which you start building trust, and then when the team started working under trust, they start aligning into the product roadmap, product vision, and that's where they enter into a productivity stage. Okay, so the communication, the idea is how to solve communication in a large teams, in a large organization. I think that's the crux. If you solve it, then you start getting into the upper part of the pyramid. So one of the key things when you're building on, even if you've got very big, huge teams, I was telling in the break to one, I was working with a company called LimeWire. We're building a music services, which was similar to kind of an iTunes. So we were having around 8 teams in New York, and there were 4 teams in India. Okay, all the 12 teams were working on one product. If you get into kind of multiple product backlogs for one product, then it becomes a nightmare to manage and prioritize your product. Okay, so you need to have one product backlog, and then you divide it into multiple ones. These are all your sprint backlogs. These are all your sprint backlogs, and each of these teams working on each of these sprint backlogs. You could create a theme to small teams also. Some people work on management side of things, some are user, some are on video streaming. So that's how we divided the teams. Second, when you're having such a large team, you can't manage with one product owner or 2 product owners. You need to have multiple product owners. And when there's a multiple product owner, conflict of interest will come. You know what, the next upcoming release, what should go? This product owner may say something, this may say, no, this is my priority. Okay, so you need a person who is a chief product owner who would manage, and actually he's a guy who has got a very good clear vision in terms of the product roadmap. And he's a guy who's going to lay out the product roadmap as we move progress. Okay, and he's the person who actually works with his team to resolve any kind of conflicts. And usually, chief product owner are the role played by, in larger organization, I would say like VP of product management kind of people who start playing that kind of a chief product owner role within an organization. Third, you need to get your team structure right. Okay, irrespective of whether you are dealing with small projects, small agile teams or large teams. If you don't get your team structure right, you build lot of inter-team dependencies. Okay, so you need to know where should be these. Each of the team that you coin should be self-sufficient. There should not be too much of talking to another 4 or 5 teams, then it's going to drag down their productivity. So that's a team structure devising is a very important role. So if you see here, you have your core team of this number, and you have all this extended team. It could have project managers, it could have any other people. Okay, all this extended team are only supporting this core team. They are not involved in the day-to-day activities of the team. Okay, the core team is the one which is actually focused on the sprint goal, what we are going to do in the current sprint. So devise this one. When this part starts getting bigger, as you start increasing the number of teams. Then you create a kind of a separate support team structure, which would have architects, a lot of all these people who would support all these multiple teams. And as I said, when you have this kind of a structure and when you have multiple such teams, one of the ways that you could really solve is really getting all these people into one platform called Scrum of Scrums. Okay, I think you might be doing a Scrum of Scrums on your projects when you have multiple teams. Okay, the idea is once again the same. The concept is start rolling up the information, right? So somewhere the senior management like CXOs and all these people will start coming in. Depending upon the size of the organization, you start rolling up the information. So this is one of the great ways of really, so a lot of teams, what do is, they do Scrum of Scrum right after the daily stand-up. And in many cases, they may do thrice a week or twice a week, depending upon the product complexity and the inter-team dependencies. You choose what is the right frequency for you. Start doing more. If you think it's more, bring it less. This is about what I told rolling up. So as you have portfolio of products, multiple products that you are having, but there is a lot of, you may start seeing there is a lot of common theme of organizational roadblocks. This team is also saying, you know what, our product management is not interfacing well with us. When I have a question, the product owner is not with us. Okay, this team also may start telling the same. So these information when they start rolling up, there is a CXO guy who will be part of the Scrum of Scrums. He should be the guy who should start getting all these feelings about the organization, where what's going wrong. Because he is a change agent. If you don't get management into the agile transformation, you will not be able to bring the complete change. After some time, your teams will start trying. They will forget agile doesn't work for us because the management is not bought in. You need to get your management completely involved. So this is the best place where the CXO to be there and he start actually getting the sense of what are the organizational roadblocks are. Okay, so this is done across, even if these teams are in one location or they are distributed across multiple geographies. For example, here, even if the teams are between UK and India, they are still doing some between the Scrum meetings, then following up with a kind of a Scrum of Scrums. Or in many cases, what we have also done was we actually got not into this one, directly into a kind of a daily stand-up between the two teams together. Okay, how we do it, you design the workspace in such a way that it's agile really. All your business team and everybody is sitting together. They are not sitting in another part of the wall. Because if there's a wall, it means you are blocking the communication. So try to sit in one, and when there are multiple teams, we get into kind of a virtual team areas. The team is sitting here, I've got a big screen, you always see the other team who are working. So a lot of workspaces are designed in such way. So one of the key things when, I don't know, somebody was telling, when the team gets distributed across multiple locations, right, the effectiveness of the team comes, depending upon how do you use your overlapping time zones. Okay, how effectively you are in using your overlapping time zones. Lot of teams, this is just an example, okay, lot of teams do it in different, if it is in UK and India, I'm just giving an example, put across this kind of a timeline. What I'm going to do in this, focus your overlapping hours only on communication, synchronization between the teams, and if you want to try distributed pair programming or review or anything, you try on during those intervals. Okay, there's a lot of advantage. When the culture are different, an UK developer working with an India developer doing a distributed pair programming, awesome experience. They will learn a lot of things and a lot of cultural exchanges happens. Okay, so you need to define this, either this model, and I was recently setting up a team between Australia and India. So you see the Australia is actually much earlier, they are starting their day. So they may doing something at the start and they end up doing a distributed stand-up with the India team at some time later part of the day. Sometime in their afternoon or early morning is where. But idea is, how do you use these overlapping hours? You have to be very, very efficient because this is the time most of the trust is made. Okay, you need to pass information between the teams, and if both the teams like what they are doing each other, they are not actually struggling. If these people have committed some code, and these people are really, when they start their day, for example, if these people committed some code here, which breaks the entire build, what will happen to these people when they start their day? If they're working on single, whatever, on the same sprint together. Okay, so a lot of these challenges, the power of continuous integration comes in picture here. The next, these are the practices are followed by successful teams. So we are not saying following this will become successful, but successful teams are following this. Now what? So there is a trend that we could get. Okay, oh, you know what, these teams are doing this practice. It means there is some sense to it. Okay, following a feature team, instead of breaking the teams along, this is the business layer team, this is the database team, the UI team, you run into a lot of integration challenges. Okay, and once again, when you are breaking the team in this way, what we call as stories, right? Breaking the system into different stories, you can actually get something done by end of the sprint, which is working. When I say working, you can actually show it to your customer to get the feedback. Okay, so it's very important you break the teams into feature. There are a lot of other advantages. You could go and read up knowledge redundancy, less integration time, and definitely a lot of other interesting things that you could do. But go for definitely feature teams. This is the big challenge. Okay, because nowadays what's happening is that this business is distributed. Okay, we have got a business in different. We are building product for US. The customer is on the other side. He knows his market very well. To whatever extent we could try, we'll never get a real picture of that market because you are building the product for that particular customer. Okay, so product owners is best when they are sitting next to the user. Product owner is the guy who has dinner, has coffee, has everything with his users, so that he gets to know not only the conscious needs but the subconscious needs of the user. Okay, that's the key thing. Subconscious needs only delight customers because they didn't expect it. You gave it, delighter to me. Okay, there's a particular model called Canon model that's used for those things. So, but the challenge is your development team is sitting in some other time zone. Okay, it's very tough to really build a good team when the team wants it. For clarification, the product owner is not there because he's sleeping in some other country. So you need to, one of the areas is there are a lot of, you need to build what is called as proxy product owner. Okay. One of the cases, don't take it, there's still a big difference between a business analyst and a proxy product owner. Business analyst in many cases is not a decision maker. Okay. He's just helping helping the product owner writing stories, getting things done and whatever. But the proxy product owner who you define is a decision maker. The reason is we don't want a proxy product owner to run for every question from the developers. He runs to the product owner to get information. Then he is not a proxy product owner. Okay, yeah, he has to be a decision maker. He needs to really talk to the team and give his. If he wants during off hours, he can sing. But at this time, if these people have a question, I can clarify it to you. Okay, so this is a guy who is. That's the reason getting a right matured person as a proxy product owner is tough. Okay. Particularly like recently we were doing for one of the physical fitness companies based out of Santa Monica and the team here in Gurgaon. Okay, hardly any overlap between the two teams. So I think it took us around 3-4 months to find a right guy as a proxy product owner. Because India we are not developing products to our domestic market. So the product ownership skill is still developing, right? It's not easy to get product owners. Probably in 4 years down the line, we'll get a lot of good product owners. The ninth is when you have multiple teams, you could go for a concept like staggered sprints. Okay, because there is one product owner managing probably 2 teams, so he can't be at the same place. Okay, at the same time of both the teams if they both start on the same day. So what you could do is you stagger the sprints. Somebody is starting on Wednesday, this team is starting on Thursday. Okay, but in case of distributed team, you naturally get this one because of the time zones, you get this natural staggering. Okay, so in case of distributed terms, so it makes sometimes very easy for a one product owner to be on 2 teams when it's on a distributed teams. And some people do follow if there are a lot of co-located teams, you could still go for a synchronized sprints. It all depends upon how well you are organized. how fast your sprint planning meetings. Like for a 2-week sprint, it should not take more than 2 hours for a sprint planning meeting. So if you are so efficient, then you could really get. So this is, sorry, the fonts are not so great here, but so you build across the team kind of what we call as community of practice, programming community discussing all the practices that are happening across the teams. So UI community, test community, Scrum Master. The Scrum Master community plays a big role in actually bringing the agile transformation. Okay, because what do they do is they'll start telling what kind of challenges are facing. They all Scrum Master of the company start coming together, and then they create a kind of a joint connection with the management. Say that these are the common challenges that we see. So they are one of the key people to bring about the transformation. So those were around 10 practices. There are many other practices that followed. A huge focused on communication, a lot of things on a lot of extreme programming practices. A lot of things are there, but I wanted to focus on these top 10, just to focusing on the Scrum side of the things. So, okay, so this is instead of asking what a CXO should do, I was thinking about what are the questions that he could ask to himself when he is in such a position. What are the questions that he could ask to himself to actually see what changes that he is making. So these were the few questions that he could ask to himself. Do you step back from low-level day-to-day work and trust the team to make right choices? With Agile, the decision making has been pushed downwards, right? Now that these teams are independent and are able to take a lot of decisions, that gives a very good bandwidth for the middle management and senior management to do a lot of other things. So one more point is nowadays I'm seeing a trend of a lot of these project managers, senior project managers of a company getting into, who has got a business inclination, getting into product ownership, becoming product managers. Okay, so that's a trend because now they have got a lot of bandwidth. They're not doing task allocation kind of things. They're all taken by the team. Team knows what to do. Leave their best. Okay, so that's the trend. So it's important even for a CXO to actually come out of the day-to-day micromanagement and step up, so that he trusts the team to get it done. So do you provide? So this is the place where CXO can actually be part of the Scrum of Scrums and help in addressing all the roadblocks and helping the teams to work on values of business value, focusing on business value and value delivery, trust openness. There are a lot of things that he needs to do. He needs to do a lot of coaching, consulting. He needs to get some good people to coach his team on these aspects. But the next question is your performance management system helping guide teams to get the team performance, right? This is the very gray area currently, okay? And this is the most of, whenever I go into any place for any workshop, these are people, how do I change my performance management system? Okay, because our performance system is still focused on individual rewards. It's not on team focused. If a team is able to success on something, we don't really reward. So that's the main focus. If you stop rewarding at the team level, then you will create a kind of a non-agile atmosphere where individuals will start emerging. We don't want heroics. We want team to be a hero, not individual as an hero. Okay, so that's the question that he needs to ask. That's for performance management system. This is the main reason why HR team should understand what is expected of an agile team. Then they will not be so worried about individual performances. Then they'll start understanding the concept of team performance. And are you able to distribute people? Staffing model. In a lot of organizations I've seen, staffing model is focused on utilization, right? Oh, is he 100% utilized? Even if you can't even give him 10% free for innovation, right? So I was telling somebody, Atlassian, when Atlassian is a company which does a lot of this tool development, they started doing a concept called free Thursdays. Okay, on this Thursday you will not do any project work. It's completely free time for you. Okay, but after 24 hours you will present what you did. It's not like you are just hanging around in the office. Okay, so you know what they started doing? I think 3.5, 4 years back. It has changed the landscape of the company completely. They say all the products, new ideas, everything came during these free Thursdays, giving that freedom to the team. Okay. That's a very, very important. Even the concept like 80-20 followed by Google also, right? And during the 20%, they came out with the Google AdWords project. Then it got into the mainstream, right? So you have to give that freedom. Don't focus on utilization. Focus on value, business value once again. See if the person, instead of being on this team, being on this team makes more sense because it will bring more business value to the customer. Okay. Forget about like too much of focus on utilization part. And using the right metrics. Metrics is a crazy thing. So a lot of teams gets into a level of individual productivity. Okay. Then you are going to kill the spirit of the team. Okay. You have to be very careful. Any metrics which takes you into a micromanagement, stop it. Stop using that metrics. Any metrics that takes you to the micromanagement, immediately stop it. So there are, I define only around 5 to 6 metrics. Whenever I go, don't go beyond this. That's what I say. Don't get into too much of low-level micro metrics. This is the problem. Agile, a lot of people still think is a development issue. Okay? But it applies to the entire organization. If the development team becomes agile, but the product management doesn't, then they are going to hinder the entire overall development. Okay? So you need to have your product owners completely in sync with respect to on the agile principles. They are able to write very good stories. They are able to actually have the domain skills very well. They are domain experts, and they are able to interface with the product team. I don't know if you're aware, I just want to clarify this. There are two terms which are used in the industry called product manager and product owner. Right? Product owner is an inward facing role. He's inside the organization. Product manager is external facing, who's the guy who is. So this is a model followed by a lot of bigger organizations where they have got a lot of bandwidth and everything. They divide this role into two roles. Product manager external facing and product owner inward facing. Inward facing, he talks to the development team, write stories and all of this. But in a smaller startup and product companies, I have seen this as one person. Okay, so you need to have this guy who, the person who is the product has to get a very good on the business side and who is good in interfacing with the technical team too.